This beautiful bush behind me produces elderberries, but what you might not know is that the elderflowers are just as valuable as those elderberries. Today, we're going to talk about how to harvest them, how to preserve them, and why you may want to go pick some elderflowers. Hey Provident Gardeners, welcome to my backyard, and today we're going to talk about elderflowers, how to harvest them, how to preserve them, and how to use them. You may not know that elderflowers are just as nutritious in a little bit different way as the elderberries themselves, but we only have a few weeks to be able to harvest them. This is my elderberry row. I have elderberries actually growing all over my property because they're great at attracting beneficial insects, and I love the way that they look, and I love the flowers as well as the medicinal property of the berries. But today we're just going to focus on the flowers. Now, one of the things that I do, this is just my row of elderberry bushes. Every fall I cut them down till they're about this tall, and they regrow back every spring. With these varieties, for me, I can't just let them grow. I do have a few varieties that just grow into this big bush, and I just prune them back every year, but these I hack down. Now, it's early morning, and that is the best time to harvest the elderflowers for a couple of reasons. They have less bugs on them. Throughout the day, this flower will get more and more bugs, and when we preserve this, the pollen is very valuable, so we don't want to wash these. So coming out in the morning and picking them like this is perfect. Let's look at a few of these. So this one right here, the flowers have already set berries. And so that we don't want to pick that if we're harvesting the elderflowers. Now, if I just leave this in my yard, the birds will come and eat this before I have the ability to harvest the berries. Welcome the bag. So what I do is I take this little bag, cover the berries, pull it tight, because these are pollinated, so they don't need the insects anymore. But by doing this, the birds can't eat them. So I can wait until they are completely big, plump, juicy, and ripe, and then I can come pick them. So yeah, my bushes look a little bit funny, but the birds aren't eating all my elderberries. Now, I like to share with them, so I do leave some, but I actually cover the best ones for me. Now, I wouldn't harvest this because you can see that this one right here is all turning to elderberries. So there's a few flowers, but I would just leave this. I wouldn't cover this yet because I still want the pollinators here. But you see this little guy? This little guy is perfect. What I'm looking to see is that all of the flowers have opened. This is the last time I'm going to be able to do this because it's getting later in the season. I want to make a little note about the leaves. There's a lot of plants that we use the leaves. Elderberries are not one of them. We do not want to use the leaves for tea. The berries are great and the flowers are great, but the leaves and stems we don't want to use. Now, when I'm harvesting the blossoms, I want to make sure that I'm not taking more than about a third of them. If I want berries, I can't take all the blossoms, right? But as with everything else, when you prune, then things grow bigger and better. Like my peaches, if I don't prune my peaches, I only get little peaches. But if I take a lot of these elderberry blossoms off, then I'm going to get even bigger and better elderberries because my plant will have the ability to put all of its energy to what I leave. The elderflowers are harvested, and it's time to get busy preserving them or putting them into a recipe. But before we do that, I do want to mention that if you are foraging for elderberries or for elderflowers, you need to be very careful because there are several lookalikes that might look like elderflowers, but they're not, and they may be dangerous for you to consume. So make sure, I'm not a forager. I bought these at a local nursery, which means that I know what plant these are coming from. I'm a backyard gardener, not a forager. So if that's something that you would like to do, you've got to do your research and make sure that you are being safe. Enjoying the elderflowers and the elderberries aren't the only reason why I grow elderberry bushes. One, they're a great insectary. They attract beneficial pollinators to my garden. And if you notice where I have my elderberry plants, it actually serves as a windbreak on the north side of my garden to help protect my garden from some of those north winds. Now, every year I cut them down, right? But they grow up really fast, and all of that biomass that I cut down, I use in my compost as mulch, and it's just great at creating beautiful soil. These attract beneficial insects, which make my whole garden grow better and be more productive. So the elderberry plant is a great option. And today we're going to talk about what we're going to do with those elderflowers. Now, there is a debate out there to wash or not to wash. And sometimes I wash and sometimes I don't. This morning I'm not going to wash. I picked them early. There's not as many bugs. They look good. If I wash them, I'm washing away a lot of the pollen, which is part of what gives it the flavor and the medicinal properties. So if it looks okay not to wash them, don't wash them. These have been sitting here for a couple hours now, and so you can tell they're much more limp than they were when I first took them off the plant. Sometimes you'll get clusters that look like this. In fact, a lot of times you will. You've got these freshly opened blossoms, which are what we want to use, but then you've got something in here that's already started to turn to berries, and we don't want to use that one. There's a couple ways that you can do this. You can just sit here and pull these off, depending on how the flower works. Can you see how that works like that? Or you can snip them and just snip off the little clusters. We do want to avoid as much of the stem as possible. One of the other things you can do is once it's dry, if you've got too many stems in there, you can just, they're really crackly, right? And you can pull some of the stems off at that point. I don't get overly persnickety about it, but I do pretty much only want the flowers. Today we're going to talk about 3 ways to preserve them. Absolutely, yes, you can use them fresh. And this is kind of a lot of work. They're these beautiful little flowers, but it takes a lot of them to create something in a recipe unless you're doing tea. So let's talk first about air drying. And in fact, let's go to my front porch and I'll show you how I air dry. There are a lot of different ways that you can air dry. My preference is here underneath my covered porch. This protects it from rain, and that's really important. Protects it from sun, and it allows plenty of airflow. So I've got 2 ways that I do it. I put the elder blossoms in this a few weeks ago, and I always label so I never forget. And then I just laid it in here. I never put the product right here because it's too hard to clean up. And this allows me to have all kinds of different things. This is just a laundry bag. One of the other things I do is I use this little laundry hanger here, and I can put all kinds of bags here. And you see how it just blows, just this beautiful gentle breeze, which really helps to facilitate drying. When I first put this in there, now it doesn't look like there's very much, but it was taking up a big area in here. And so it really was better for it to lay flat. But this is a great way to be able to very inexpensively dry your herbs. So this is my laundry bag. These are so incredibly cheap, and they're super easy to dry things in. Now, this, if you don't have these, you really need these. These are 4 jars, stainless steel funnels. Oh, I don't know what I would do without them actually, because for canning and for all the things that I do, they're just fabulous. Now you notice, I always label because once everything's dry, sometimes you forget. Sometimes I forget what it was. So I always put a little label in there. Here we're just going to take these little flowers. Do you see how so many of them have fallen off? Now some of these you can see they are still on their little stems, but I'm actually just going to leave them like that. I'm going to package this with an oxygen absorber because what that does is it helps prevent oxidation, and especially since these are air dried, they're not going to store as long, maybe a year. This oxygen absorber is actually oversized for the jar, but that's what I had open. And if you notice, okay, these usually come in packages of like 10. I have the littlest jar I can, and immediately I put the other oxygen absorbers back in here so that I can just open them up and reuse them. I also love to vacuum seal. I always vacuum seal and put an oxygen absorber in with my freeze dried because I'm planning on it having a much longer quality shelf life. But this is totally ready to go. We always want to make sure we label it and I have these super cute little labels that I made. Well, AI helped me make them, but I will leave a link to the post where you can get my labels for free. You can just go and print them off. That post will also have a lot of other stuff about, like some recipes and different things about freeze drying. Now let's talk about this laundry bag. So this will have little remnants. I'll go shake it out, and then I will zip it up inside out and throw it in my washer. No soap, no anything like that, because I don't want to contaminate it that way. And then it'll come out perfectly clean and ready to be used again. I love using these little laundry bags. Now let's talk about dehydrating. Dehydrating, you're going to get a little bit better quality than air drying. It's important to dehydrate it really low to protect those essential oils that are in it, between 95 and 105 degrees, just really, really low. It doesn't take very long. They're done when they're crisp. Now my favorite thing to do is to freeze dry them. And all we do is either pull or cut the little petals off, put them on a freeze dryer tray. I love Blue Alpine freeze dryers. You can totally use a Harvest Right. I have one of those too, but the Blue Alpine, I can very easily change the recipe, and I set it down to 95 degrees so that it freeze dries at a lower temperature, which helps preserve it. So you can see here, this is dried in a dehydrator and this is freeze dried. You can see the difference in the product. This is smaller, it turned kind of yellow. This looks beautiful and more like fresh. And the same thing with the taste. It'll taste different too, but don't get discouraged if you don't have a freeze dryer, because both air dried and dehydrated work just fine in so many different things. They have a shorter shelf life, but it's okay because they come on every year. So every year, store enough for the next year and you'll be fine. I'd like to talk for just a minute about elderflowers and elderberries, the difference. So we know that one is the flower. If you leave the flower there, it becomes the berry. If you leave the berry there too long, the birds eat it. Thus the bags I put on them. But they are different medicinally and nutritionally. Now, before we talk about the differences medicinally, remember, I'm just a girl talking. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm not a doc. The elderflowers are different than the berries, and medicinally, they're different. So the elderflowers are a mild diaphoretic and diuretic. They're anti-inflammatory and they're antimicrobial, and they help with congestion and sore throats. Now let's talk about the elderberry, which helps with overall immune health. It's great for respiratory, especially during an illness. It's an antioxidant. We use it for cold, flu-like kind of symptoms. And it's also an anti-inflammatory and an antiviral. So there's good reasons to have both of these. Okay, now let's talk about some of my favorite things that we can do with it. There's something called an elderflower cordial, where you mix the sugar and the flowers and some lemon. And while you cannot can that safely, if you can find a recipe that's a safe canning recipe, maybe you can, but the pH doesn't allow you to safely can it. But you can create it and you can put it in the fridge and it'll last a few weeks. Oh, did you hear that? It popped. Or you can put it in small batches in the freezer, so even in the middle of winter, you can have this really fun syrup that you can use on things. Now remember, it's a syrup, it's got lots of sugar, so use it sparingly. My favorite way to use it is in a tea. It pairs really well with some of like my lemon balm and my mints and the different things that I like in my teas. And so I just like to put a little bit of it with my tea when I make it and enjoy it. I'm not so much a fan of hot tea, but I love room temperature or ice cold tea. So like this summer, I've been just down in the tea, keep a picture of it in the fridge and just keep enjoying it. Now, if you're into deep fried, you can dip this in a batter and deep fry it and eat it. I've never tried it like that, but I hear that it's fabulous. One of the other things that I like to do is to make an infused honey. I wouldn't do that with the fresh ones. I would put either the dried or the freeze dried in raw honey and then let it infuse for several weeks. And then you can use it as you would any infused honey and get the medicinal benefits, especially later on in the year when we might need it more. You can make infused vinegars little bit of apple cider vinegar, put some of the dried or freeze-dried in it and infuse it. And then you've got this amazing flavor for salad dressings or everything that you might use vinegar in. And I use apple cider vinegar in a lot of things. And then people go, what is that amazing flavor? And okay, so the blossoms, if you haven't tried them, they're kind of, it tastes like honey or pear or citrus, a little bit white grape maybe. They're delicious. You can use them in jams and jellies or in baked goods or create some very fun desserts. I mean, the world is open to you with all the different things that you can do with this beautiful little humble flower. So hop on over to the providentgardener.com. We're still working on the site, so don't be too critical, but the labels are there. And you can find a bunch of different things in that post that might be really helpful to you, including some really fun recipes. The elderflower is a great way to get some unique flavors, some added nutrition, and some fantastic medicinal benefits. And it's just out there growing in your yard. The bush is beautiful. It would be great in your front landscape. So when you're thinking about gardening, it's not all about tomatoes and peppers. There's so many other things that you could do. Have you tried elderflowers? What did you think? I would love for you to share in the comments your recipes, the different ideas of the things that you do with elderflowers, and help me so that I can use this beautiful resource that's out in my garden that otherwise might just go to waste. Comment below. And as always, don't be afraid to get a little bit of dirt under those fingernails and turn that dirt into a delicious dinner.